viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is unfortunately unavailable due to the flooding at his Summerfeld stables, and joining me shortly from his Fulham studio in the UK will be our regular correspondent Stevie Braham, where we'll be going through the UK Europa League last night, the Europa Conference League next weekend, and unfortunately it's the last week of the major leagues in Italy and Spain. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Budge.
What do you think of the final last night?
Well, it was. They should have just gone straight to penalties. Extra time was a complete waste. I mean, it was. I think the game will be remembered probably for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, the behaviour of the benches was just. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it for a long time.
On the touchline.
You know how Michael Oliver and Anthony Taylor managed to keep a lid on it, and something like 13 players booked. You know, it was just ridiculous. But look, in the end, Sevilla, I think the best team won.
Yeah.
From about half an hour or so onwards. They were the better team. Roma seemed to be quite happy with their 1-goal lead, and they didn't really look like troubling the scorers much after Sevilla equalised. So yeah, but I mean the record they have, they've won that competition 7 times.
Brilliant.
It's quite incredible.
Yeah, I think when Mourinho sits back, reflects, to me, when they were 1-0 up, Sevilla were there for the taking. You remember the Man United against Sevilla at Old Trafford. United should have scored 4 in the first half because they are weak at the back. But once they start dictating play, you're always going to be under pressure, especially the Spanish sides. And I agree. I'm just glad that the VAR got the penalty decision right. Cost me a couple of £100 because I went both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. So I was funking for the penalty, but the correct decision was made. And the other thing that was strange for me is he put 2 fullbacks on to take penalties. That just didn't make sense, Steve. I don't know if you followed that up, if they've written anything about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, whether or not he was running out of players, there was quite a few players were hobbling around and went off, and a number of their main penalty takers were not on the pitch when it came to it. So, and they really didn't look very comfortable in that shootout, and deservedly lost it.
Yeah.
So. I mean, look, and then the other thing, I think that just sort of, whether you saw it or not, at the end, he gave his medal away to a young boy. Basically, said he doesn't want the silver medals. It's all a bit, a bit too much showmanship for me. And now they're saying that he could be off to PSG.
Yeah, so, guaranteed he's going to go. There's no doubt about that. If they'd have got through that, he would have stayed because it's Champions League football. But I've watched him the last few weeks, Steve, and he's actually ruined that team. They've got some nice players, but he put all his eggs in one basket at Man United. When we won the Europa League a few years ago, he got lucky when Ajax never turned up. But Sevilla was always going to be a difficult ask. And in the end, I think, as you said, they deserve to win. Next week, Wednesday, Steve, massive game for West Ham fans. How do you see them going against Fiorentina?
Yeah, it's. I think this is one of these games. It could go either way.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a good record in the conference this year. Fiorentina have got through. I mean, they haven't set the world alight in Serie A this year, but they're obviously sort of comfortable in mid-table. I think that West Ham will have to be on their game. I think they're quite capable of winning, and as a one-off game, it should be quite interesting. What is a shame is it's being played in a very small stadium. Capacity of 20,000.
Okay.
And I know 1 or 2 West Ham fans got no chance getting tickets. They've only been allocated 5,000 official tickets. So
it doesn't make sense, does it?
So their first Wembley their first European finals in '76, and basically the majority of their fans can't get to see it.
Yeah, I just wonder. It just amazes me how they make these decisions. It should be a minimum capacity of 40,000. Then you can even, if you say with the dignitaries, you give 15,000 each. And then at least it makes it fair for the local fans or the loyal fans. But anyway, let's just hope it's a good game, Steve. I hope West Ham win it, but somehow got a funny feeling it'll be Fiorentina, even though they have scraped through in the last 2 rounds. Steve, on to the weekend and the first FA Cup Manchester final. How do you see it going?
Yes. Look, I mean, on paper and the way that the teams have been playing, recently, you've got to fancy City, but United aren't going to want to roll over and let City win that and be on for the treble, because I think they're quite protective of what they did in '99, and I think that anything could happen really. I mean, he rested a number of his key players, Pep, the other day, which he has done for a couple of games. This is a big game because obviously it's the stepping stone to the big one the following weekend and the treble. I think it'll be a good game. I mean, their honours, I say honours even. Obviously, City won very easily in the game at the Etihad, but the United surprised them in the game at Old Trafford. Yeah. I think this could be a really good game, and I'm looking forward to it.
I just hope City don't score early, Steve. That's my only concern as United, man. Then they can keep the ball and so on. I'm glad Martial's unavailable. The most frustrating United player I've ever seen. When he's good, he's good. When he's bad, he's bad. My only concern with United is against the top 10 teams. Obviously, Fulham downwards, and United ran third. The only team they beat was Fulham, and Garnacho scored in the last minute. Other than that, we drew with Spurs, and we could have got beat there. 2-0 up at half-time, ended up being 2-2. The other 7 teams all beat United. I just couldn't believe it when I saw that away record. As good as it is at home. And that's my concern, Steve. United score, City score first. I don't know. But I'm going to have a couple of bets, Steve. I saw the betting on anytime goal scorers. I just couldn't believe Casemiro was 14-1. If ever there's somebody that may sneak and do something. And I can't believe, but you never know who's going to play. And I like Rodri to score at 8-1 too. That would be my 2. If I was going to have interest in the game. How would you see?
He's rested Grealish to the last couple of games, so he's obviously going to be playing. Look, I think we all hope it's a close game. It'd be good for football. We don't want something one-sided. You want these games, especially a big derby. Obviously, City fans are going to be looking for a big win, but I think the public want a close game, a few goals, and a bit of excitement.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's hope we get it. There'd be nothing worse. Was it City beat Stoke a few years ago? They hammered them, and then they hammered. Was it Watford in the cup final, 6-0 or?
They beat Watford 6-0. So
you don't want that.
I think that was no.
Anyway, Steve, it's the last weekend in Spain and in Italy, so we're going to go through the Spanish fixtures first. They are all on Sunday. So just bear that in mind, where the Italians have staggered their fixtures, obviously to help Fiorentina in their Wednesday night Europa League Cup final. So we'll get the betting up now, and the good thing about it, Steve, is there's everything, lots up to play as far as the Europa League and the Europa League conference place goes, and the relegation. It's actually...
at the bottom there.
But some of the prices I just can't believe, Steve. We'll go through them top to bottom. Mallorca, Rayo Vallecano. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I think that Mallorca haven't really got anything to play for particularly. I think they'll probably be favourites at home, but Rayo Vallecano needs something. So I think there'll be a close game. I think Mallorca just favourites, but I don't think there'll be much in it.
Yeah, I watched Rayo Vallecano. They won the other day. Yeah, in and out, they beat Villarreal. Just away from home, I worry about them. Of the 2 teams, Mallorca. But, the last game of the season, you just never know. But one thing there will be goals. Steve, I've watched Osasuna a couple of times. If they win this, they finish 7th. I was going to make them my best bet. I watched Girona, well-organised team, but they've got to go for it as well. It's 7th against 9th. I fancy Osasuna. Who are you going for?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're of the teams who are going for a Europa Conference place. They're the only ones who it's really in their own hands. Yeah, and I think that they would. They haven't had a bad season. I think that they will start as favourites. Obviously, Girona have got something to play for. If they cancel each other out, then someone else behind them could nip in. So I think that's going to be a really good game, but I fancy Osasuna. Yeah, me too. Yeah, they got beaten the Spanish Cup, but Real Madrid played well. Yeah. And I think of their 22-man squad, 13 are local boys, so well done to them. Steve, I cannot believe Real Madrid, they're just under 11-10. They'll obviously start shorter. Everyone's got this notion that Athletic Bilbao have to win to get in the top 8. Real Madrid have won their last 4 at home. It could be Benzema's last game and a few others. I cannot believe this price, Steve. I think they're absolute certainties.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think so. Look, I mean, Atletico Club Bilbao have had opportunities in the last few weeks to nail down that 7th spot. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and as you say, Real Madrid, they're not going to want to lose at home and let their rivals Atletico leap from them.
Correct.
So I think they're going to start as big favourites, and I was very surprised they're not odds on at home. So I don't think people think that they're going to be on the beach. I think that they've still got something to play for. They're at home in front of a big crowd, and I think that they'll win. Yeah,
totally agree. Steve, the betting has changed overnight purely because Sevilla won the Europa League. So it's 8-10 Real Sociedad this morning. That's got to be a good bet, surely?
Yeah, look, first of all, Real Sociedad have had a fantastic season, and they've guaranteed themselves Champions League football in 4th place. Sevilla, had they have lost last night, then they would have had an outside chance of getting into Europa Conference place, but they don't need it now. And in spite of their obviously decent form in the league, they haven't won in 3, and I think that I'd be very surprised if they get anything at all. So I think the betting is about right.
8-10, good things. The next game, the big game, Villarreal against Atletico. Obviously, Atletico will have one eye on the Real Madrid game. I backed them last week. I backed Villarreal last week, Steve. They were woeful against Rayo Vallecano. Everything to play for, Champions League. They were great at the back for years. They were woeful last week. And against Atletico Madrid team, who have struggled away from home, strangely, I've got to go with Atletico Madrid. Do you agree?
Well, look, listen, I mean, Atletico Madrid have guaranteed their Champions League place. They'd love to try and catch their rivals Real and finish in 2nd place. The only thing is, obviously, they are at home. And, they're not going to want to slip up. I think they could probably cancel each other out. I can't make a case of Atletico Madrid winning easily there. I think it'll be closer. But as you say, they didn't play very well last week.
On to the second page, where we've got Celta Vigo, who are in serious trouble, hosting the champions Barcelona. Couldn't believe Barcelona last week, the price they were. But away from home, Steve, they've been a bit suspect. Can Celta Vigo cause an upset?
Well, look, the danger for them is obviously they're only one place off the bottom, and I think that they are in trouble. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Barcelona, have won the league comfortably. They have lost 2 of their last 3, but they may want to go out on a high. And I think this is probably this is the last team that Celta Vigo want to play, knowing that they probably have to win to stay up. I can't see them doing it somehow. I think Barcelona will be too strong.
Yeah, you would think so, especially defensively, Barcelona. They're going for the record, so many clean sheets, so difficult for Iago Aspas and co. I'd love Celta Vigo to stay in, but somehow I think they're in trouble. Elche already relegated against Cadiz, Steve. I've watched Elche lately. They beat Atletico Madrid last week. Athletic Bilbao. How, I don't know, but I think they're a decent price to win at home. But how do you see it going?
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, obviously they've shown a little bit of form, unbeaten in their last 4, even though they're effectively 16 points adrift. But Cadiz have to get something. If Cadiz lose, even though they're sitting in 13th, they could be caught. I think Cadiz will probably get the result they need and steer themselves away. But otherwise, they'll be looking over their shoulder at the other results.
Yeah, I think fortunately a few of them play each other, so it gives Cadiz a bit of a chance, but it wouldn't surprise me if it ends in a stalemate. Espanyol, Almeria, Steve, how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, disappointing season for Espanyol. They're obviously, their relegation has been confirmed. Almeria, I mean, they need a point still, or 2 even. I mean, they could be caught, and so I think they'll put up a bit of a fight. Again, it's one of these games they could cancel each other out, but Almeria can't afford to lose with only a couple of teams below them.
Yeah, I was going to make Espanyol my best value bet of the weekend, Steve. I watched them play Valencia last week. They were the better team for a long time. They conceded an injury time, and that's caused them to get relegated. At home last game, pressure on Almeria. I've just got a funny feeling that Espanyol will get a result. I don't see them losing. There should be goals because Espanyol score and concede in every game. But 18-10 I thought was worth an interest, and I'll have a look at the team that they select before having a bet. But I don't think Almeria will win there. Either Espanyol will win in a draw. Steve, I can't believe the pricing in the next game. I think they got the betting the wrong way. How do you see Real Betis going against Valencia?
Well, Real Betis, I mean, they've obviously guaranteed their Europa spot. They've been strong at home, and Valencia can't afford to lose though. I mean, they only lost one of their last 5, but they could still get caught. Having said that, I think Real Betis are going to be favourites, and as I say, they've had a very good season for them, finishing above teams like their rival Sevilla. So I fancy Real Betis to finish strongly and win that.
Yeah, so do I. In all my bets already. And last but not least, a big game, especially at the bottom. Real Valladolid, who've got to get something out of this against a Getafe team who, if they get beat, they could be in trouble. Which way are you going at, Steve?
Well, I think Real Valladolid looked like they were gone a couple of weeks ago. They picked up 4 points in their last 2 games, give themselves a chance, but they know they have to win basically. Anything other than a win and they go down. So whereas Getafe, I think they only need a point. I think Getafe might just get that point, but Real Valladolid, they've got to have a go.
Yeah.
It's win or bust for them. I think it'll be a really good game, but I just fancy Getafe to get that point they need.
Yeah, so do I. Real Valladolid beat Barcelona 3-1 in the last home game, so they've obviously got to be confident, but I've backed Getafe a few times, Steve. They're your old-fashioned Stoke City, well-organised, set-piece material. And of the 2 teams, I'm all over Getafe. On to Italy, where they've staggered the games, fortunately. The first game kicking off on Friday, Steve. And I fancy Sassuolo to beat a Fiorentina team who, if they don't rotate and play the squad team, I'll be amazed. How do you see it going now?
I can't believe they won't rotate. I mean, surely he's not going to risk any of his key players with a European final coming up. They're completely safe, Fiorentina. They can't go. They can't go up or down, as it were. They can go up sort of one place and down a couple, but doesn't really affect anything. I think Sassuolo had a decent season. Obviously, not as good as they had done under Roberto De Zerbi, but I think they deservedly will be favourites. They haven't won in the last 5, but I think they'll be too strong on the night.
Yeah, I backed Fiorentina against a Roma team last weekend. Mourinho rotated all his players. They came back and won 2-1, and I think Fiorentina will do the same thing. Torino, Inter Milan, Steve. I know Inter Milan have got a Champions League Cup final next Saturday, but surely they're going to want to get things right. Torino, in and out. It's got to be Inter Milan, surely?
You'd think so, but then again, is he going to want to risk all of his top players? I know it's a week away, but he may want to rotate a little bit. Torino have got nothing to play for, really. They can't finish any higher than the position they're in. Yeah. And they had a big win last week against a team that needed the points. I wouldn't be surprised if Torino hold them, only because I think that I'd be surprised if Inter play their strongest team. I just can't see why he would risk any one of his key sort of 4 or 5 players. Yeah.
So they've got a deep squad, You have a look, Lukaku plays up front, Zeko, Lukaku. I think you're resting young Argentinian, but even so, Inter Milan are well organised at the back, and Turin, Milan derbies. But I agree, it's just not one I would have a few rand on. The next game, Steve, Cremonense, Salernitano. It should be goals aplenty, but which way do you see it going?
Well, I mean, Cremonense obviously have long been relegated. Yeah. I think that. I think Salernitano, have surprised people. I watched them in their game at Roma, and they're probably unlucky not to win that. Yeah. Only lost one of their last 5 as well. I think that they'll go to Cremonese and win. I mean, obviously, look, Cremonese have only won 4 all season. They may want to go out on a bit of a high. Yeah. They've lost their last 3. I think that Salernitano should be too strong.
Goals guaranteed, but of the 2 teams, Steve, totally agree. Salernitano for me. Steve, Empoli, I watched them beat Juventus the other day. Great result. Lazio sneaked in last week, winning 1-0 at Udinese. You would think Lazio would want to finish second and go on a high, but somehow I think just qualifying has maintained their goal. Can Empoli cause an upset?
They can do. They're unbeaten in the last 5. they can't really, they're not going down, they're not going much higher than they are. Again, as you say, you never always know how teams are going to play in the last game of the season. Lazio have done what they needed to do. They've had a very good season.
Yeah.
I think they've surprised people finishing second. So, that one could really go either way. I wouldn't be surprised they possibly cancel each other out. But it should be an entertaining game, as I say. Lazio have accomplished what they wanted. They can get caught by Inter, but I'm not sure that Inter will play personally their strongest team. So I think Lazio should probably get the result they need and finish second.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when they play earlier into Milan. So Lazio will know if they can celebrate or not. If they have to go for it, I think they'll get the necessary points. But if they don't be surprised of an upset. Napoli, Steve, I like what they've done. They've given them the time slot on their own so they can get the trophy. They should be too good for relegated Sampdoria, surely? 1-4, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's top against bottom. Sampdoria, in the past, a good team in the past, have had a appalling season. I mean, they've been the whipping boys. Conceded as many goals as anybody. Only won 3 all season. I mean, Napoli obviously is going to be one big party, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that they'll do what they need to do. It's probably farewell to a few of their players.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that they're talking, they've already the press have already got all their key players leaving, which I think will be a disappointment for the fans. But they want to send them off on a high, and I think they'll win comfortably.
Yeah. Also, the manager's last game as well, so he'll obviously want to win. Steve, I can't believe the betting on the next game. AC Milan 8-10 at home against Verona. I know Verona have to get a result. But I just can't see it. AC Milan, last game at home, they'll have their full team out. Surely they've got to be too good for Verona. You would think so. I mean, I know that Verona are in a battle at the bottom. We'll talk about it with Spezia. But Milan are, they'd like to try and finish third above their city rivals. Yeah. So they've had a disappointing end to the season and as far as their European campaign. And I think they're going to want to go out on a high. Yeah, totally agree. 8-10 in all my bets. Now, AS Roma, even money, they've got to get a result here to confirm the Europa League status for next year. And against a Spezia team who, like Verona, are also struggling. Can you expect them to get the necessary win, Steve? Well, I think this is a tough one now for Roma because they've got to, basically, they need to get a result. I mean, as you said earlier, he's put all his eggs in one basket, Mourinho. They haven't played well in recent weeks. They've they were, on the cusp of a potential Champions League place, but they let that slip. And now, not 1 in 5, they could miss out on the Europa place. He's got to raise his players up in the space of a few days against a team that are fighting against relegation. Yeah, I think if their mindset is right, they can do it. But it's going to be tough for them having to play after. It's interesting that this European final was played before the end of the season. Yes, it's unusual for that to happen. They've obviously done it because they wanted not to have on the same week as the other European final. But I don't think it's done Roma any favours. I think they'll do it if he can. If he's as good as man management skills, can get his players high because they look crestfallen last night and exhausted. Yeah. So, Spezia are going to go there knowing that they've got to get a result. Hellas Verona. Yeah. They've got to get a result. Yeah, I just think that it's a Wednesday game. It would have been a Thursday game, Steve. I could understand them, but the desire not to let their fans down. Could you imagine if they don't get another result? The fans will be going berserk in that the Olympic Stadium in Rome. But even money, I'm hoping they drift. I think they'll win comfortable, Steve. That's my opinion. Spezia, I've watched them. They haven't won an 8 away from home. And the good thing about it, if they both get beat, which I think they will be, it's not a relegation. If it's a tie in Italy, they've changed it. It's now a playoff to see who goes down. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So I think I agree with that. Well, Spezia had the opportunity last week, and they lost at home to Torino 4-0. So yes. They didn't do themselves any favours. Yeah, I'm all over AS Roma. Atalanta, Steve, another team that if they win, they can qualify for the Europa League. But AC Monza, who cost me big time last week, they've only lost 1 in 9. I don't think it's going to be easy for Atalanta. No, but I think Atalanta know it's in their own hands. Yeah.
You know, they have lost 3 of their last 4.
Yeah.
You know, when they were in with the sniff of a Champions League spot themselves. But I think they know what they need to do, and you know, they've got Juventus breathing down their neck. I think that they'll probably get the result they need to guarantee that Europa place.
Yeah, Lecce versus Bologna.
Well, Lecce have sort of pulled themselves away from trouble.
Yeah.
You know, they can't go up or down any position. Bologna have had a decent end to the season, only lost 1 of the last 5. I think Lecce might just about, they could hold them. I don't think, I think this could be a close game. I wouldn't be surprised if Bologna get something there, though.
Yeah, I watched Lecce. They cost me big time when they drew on a Friday night against Lazio. They drew 2-2, but they deserved the point, and they got a result the following week. Of the 2 teams, I just like what I've seen from Lecce. Bologna at home have been decent. Away from home, Steve, haven't really sold me. Not that I've watched them a lot, but if I had to go for one of the 2 teams, I would go for Lecce. And last but not least, Udinese, great home record until Lazio beat them at home against a Juventus team that's in all sorts of turmoil. How do you see it going, Steve?
Well, the only thing is, I feel for Juventus in as much as they had the 15 points deducted, then given back, and then all of a sudden they get another 10 points deducted.
Yeah.
So they've been up and down. You know, they find themselves in 7th spot. You know, they could get themselves up into Europa spot if the teams above them slip up.
Yeah.
You know, if you added those 10 points back, you know, they'd be in a Champions League spot. So, you know, they're capable of winning, but they've lost their last 2. And you just don't know psychologically what, you know, this effect has had on them. As you say, Udinese have got a decent home record, and I think it's going to be a tough game. But I think Juventus, you know, this is their last chance of getting, you know, Europa football. I think they'll have a go, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do get a result.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, Juventus are on 59 points, Roma 60, a point ahead of them, obviously, and Atalanta 61. So if they don't win, they're gone. But if they do get a result, it should be very interesting. Steve, pressure time again. I need your best bet and value bet, please.
Well, I'm going to go for my best bet, and I think you said it earlier. I can't believe they're not odds on, and that's Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You know, at home against a team well below them, I think that they should start as favourites. And my value bet, I'm going to go for Real Betis. You know, I think that they've had a great season in the Champions League spot, and not a Champions League. You know, they've had a really good season. And, you know, finished high in Europa, and I think that they'll be too strong at home.
Steve, I don't know if it's great minds or whether fools never differ. If Paul was here, he'd obviously say the second, but I'm the same. I just can't believe it. It was like last week, Spurs were 14-10, you know, playing a Leeds team who are a bad team. And, you know, a bad team, I don't care what they need to do, are still a bad team. And the bookmakers go the other way, so hopefully we'll make them pay. Steve, thanks again, and what we'll do next week is we'll go through the Premiership and Championship of all the English football. I know there's managerial changes due, and also players' awards and so on, and we can do a review of the English Premiership.
Sure.
So, Steve, keep well, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Lovely. Okay.
All the best.
Cheers, Budge.
Okay.
Bye.
Our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham. South Africa hotting up in the promotion relegation from the PSL and First Division. We've got the betting. Unfortunately, the betting has only come out this morning. There was only one bookmaker that was odd. And the odds are Cape Town Spurs are 18-10. The draw is 2-1 and it's 14-10 Maritzburg. They've both played Pretorius Kazrick Stars. Cape Town Spurs beat them 1-0 away and Maritzburg beat them 2-0 at home. I watched it last night. Kazrick Stars, not the best. You know, for me, 2-1 the draw. You know, they play each other home and away, and Cape Town Spurs last 16 home games, 14 wins, 1 draw, and 1 defeat. So you just never know. Sean Bartlett's got his guys playing well, but to me, the fear of defeat, especially in this game, 2-1 the draw would be my selection. On to our exotics for the weekend, and bear in mind they are Saturday, Sunday, so just please, you know, be very wary. Apologies. The first one is on Saturday, the Soccer 6, and I'm going Maritzburg United win and draw against Cape Town Spurs. Off to Turkey, I'm going Konyaspor win and draw at home against Fatih Karagumruk. I think Man City, hate to say it'll be too good for Man United. I'm going the field in the Adana Demirspor versus Istanbul Başakşehir, as well as the Kayserispor versus Ankara Gücü. The field in that particular match, and I'm chancing USM Alger to beat Young Africans in the CAF Confederations Cup second leg. Alger are 2-1 down, but at home I think they'll be too good. On to the other Sunday Soccer 6, which I've got Espanyol to avoid defeat at home against Almeria. I'm going the field in the Real Mallorca Rayo Vallecano clash. I think Osasuna will be too good at home against Girona. Looking for the upset in the Real Valladolid against Getafe match. I don't see Atletico Madrid losing at Villarreal, and I'm going for Al Ahly to beat Wydad Casablanca in the first leg of the CAF Champions League, 2-1-6. On to the Soccer 10, which is on Sunday. I'm going Barcelona. I'm throwing the draw in with them to avoid defeat at Celta de Vigo. I'm going for Espanyol, win and draw against Almeria. The field in their Real Mallorca versus Rayo Vallecano game. Two bankers, Osasuna to beat Girona, Real Betis to beat Valencia. On to our second page, I think Real Madrid will end the season off in style by beating Athletic Bilbao. I'm going Real Sociedad, win and draw at home against Sevilla. The field in the Real Valladolid versus Getafe match. Atletico Madrid to avoid defeat at Villarreal. And Al Ahly to be too good at home against Wydad Casablanca, 288. On to the Soccer 13, which is a Saturday Soccer 13. I'm banking Man City to beat Man United. Norrköping to be too good for Broma Pochkana. RB Leipzig, the German Cup final, win and draw against Eintracht Frankfurt. Signing with Rennes to avoid defeat at Stade Brest. I think Monaco will be too good at home against Toulouse. And two Spanish Segunda playoff games. I'm going Levante to avoid defeat at Albacete, and Deportivo Alaves, win and draw at Eibar. On to the second page, I'm going Parma, win and draw at home against Cagliari. Hammarby to be too good for Stockholm Internationale. Vassillons to be too good at home against Mutala. I'm going for Alafors, win and draw at Ariana. At Widdersburg against Norby, win and draw the home team. And Barcelona women to be too good for Wolfsburg in the Women's Champions League final, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. Very limited with what we can select, but we start off in Spain. I'm going Osasuna to beat Girona, Real Betis to beat Valencia, and Real Madrid to beat Athletic Bilbao, 2,200 to 200. On to my team goals only. I'm going Espanyol, Getafe, Real Betis, and Real Madrid, all to score over 1.5 goals, 4,700 to 200. On to Italy. I'm going Sassuolo to beat Fiorentina on Friday, AC Milan to beat Hellas Verona, and over 2.5 goals in the Empoli-Lazio and Udinese Juventus games, 2,700 to 200. The Swedish league will take over soon, so we've got to take a bet. I'm going leaders Elfsborg to beat Djurgårdens, Sirius to beat IFK Bonamo, and over 2.5 goals in the IFK Gothenburg Mjölby and Norrköping Bromwich Pochkana fixture, 2,900 to 200. Brazil, another league which has just started, so a quadrant it is. I'm going Fortaleza to beat Bahia, Santos to beat Internacional, Goiás to beat Cuiabá, and both teams to score in the Rio Derby between Vasco da Gama and Flamengo, 2,900 to 200. And our Collis King, Nixa, I'm going Real Betis to beat Valencia, Real Madrid to beat Athletic Bilbao, AC Milan to beat Hellas Verona, Sirius to beat IFK Bonamo, Malmo to beat Degerfors, and Fortaleza in Brazil to be too good at home against Bahia. Great odds, 8,600 to 200. Thank you for watching our OnSide SA Soccer Show, and please remember, take care.